right, everybody. Hey, guess what? You're listening to Disclaimers by Ed Johnston. Now, the thing is, we're not sure if you're hearing my voice or not, but it is Saturday, August 17th, 2019. On the, Ed will explain to it in case you can't hear my audio. Something's messed up there, but, yeah, we got the waterworks thing that he's got. It's up on in the resources, the legal area on the website. Ed, why don't you take it away?
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us again this evening. This is Ed Johnston. Some people are asking about who I am, and what created New.org and Trackers. Me and the co-host. I do the research. I write a lot of Senate bills and House bills that they're creating, bringing them up. Write a lot of public information, and that's the whole point. So that is the one point that people don't comprehend about what the truth is going on. What's really going on in our country, because everybody thinks, oh, we're a democracy. Well, come on, folks. If you think you're a democracy, read the real structure of democracy. Democracy says rape, rob, pillage, and murder children. I don't know where people don't come up with a reality who cannot comprehend really reality. So when it comes down to like your water rights, police rights, because remember, the police don't work for you. The police work for a corporation. That's the whole point, is that the police work for a corporation called the city, county, and state. All right? And the state is supposed to be run by the corporation head called the governor. And each city council member has a mayor that runs the city who is personally liable for the city, even though that our mayor in Toledo, Oregon, Rod Cross, says, no, he's not. When he conspired trying to have me murdered in 2006 in the Inspector General's report. And then I have this other tweet that's coming up to me, Aaron Pitcher putting guns to my head, coming on my property just 3 days ago, threatening my life again. So I'm filing it. It's time to take his ass to court. And that's the one point that you've got to realize. You got to take him to Supreme Court of the federal government. You cannot take him to your city courts because the city don't give a damn about you. I don't give a damn if your mommy daddy is there. They don't care. Because if they care, they would have backed you up. See, that's the problem with people don't comprehend real reality. That's the saddest part, that we're not paying attention to the real truth of the real facts in the real life. Everybody wants to live in this Disneyland crap of something called a religious book. Well, religion creates slavery. Yeah, you can be upset at me for telling you the truth, but that's true. Where's God? Who's God? What God? Why is there a God? And I'm blunt on this. And everybody keeps telling me, well, you're going to lose people for not coming around and not telling the truth. I am telling the truth. See, that's the point. I've been dead a dozen times. Where's God? Who's God? I never saw the light. So I spent 3.5 months in ICU. Hello, folks. This is real reality. I know what it's like to be on a life support system. I know what it's like to be hooked up. This ain't no joke. So when I get people all the time that come after me and say, you don't know this and you don't know that, I get so stunned with people who don't comprehend the real world. Especially the people that says, oh, religion controls you. Oh, we have to go pray. Sorry, I don't pray to anybody on my knees. And if you pray to somebody on your knees, except for your better half, then that's your decision. But leave the rest of the people out in the world of it. Because, when it comes down to so-called religion factors, remember, who's the religion working for? Who profits from it? The city comes over and harasses you to write you a ticket, so you pay a traffic fee, or you pay a fine, or you pay the city to fart in the wind. I sit there and I collect rainwater, and people go, well, you're going to get arrested and go to jail for it. Come on me. Because the bottom line, when it comes down to, I do collect rainwater. And so should you. You have a right. I killed Kulingassi's bill on the Oregon State Senate floor. See, that's the point that people got to realize that when you kill these bills on the House and Senate floor, and I'm not the only one involved, there's a lot of people that's been involved in this stuff. And I mean a lot of people. So when it comes down to these structures, I'm not the only one out there bringing this stuff to your attention. And that's the one point that you got to realize, that you have to learn what the Second Amendment is. You have to realize what actually happened in the Civil War. Because in the Civil War, all right, the South was the British government. They weren't Americans. They fought for the British flag. Look at the flag. Do your history on flags. And then when you look at the flag that they fly in the United States, including the peace flag, they got 50 stars on it. There ain't no 50 states. There ain't no 51 states. There was only 48 states united at the end of the Civil War. Prior to that, there was only 36. Not, 48. So, I mean, it's like people don't read real history. They don't comprehend the facts because everybody wants to live in some Disneyland. And if you know anybody who, when you win a war, you write the history of the war. And that's the sickest thing that is going on today, because we're getting dictated how to live under a religious Bible. We're not getting taught how to live freedom. And when you think about it, and everybody keeps going, oh, these poor immigrants, excuse me, they're not our problem. They're terrorists. These people came over with their Bible from England and Spain and murdered the natives. Over 100 million slaughtered them in the buffalo or food resources for their personal gains, so that way they come over here and enslave us. And then everybody goes, oh, well, we should compensate the color folks. Well, excuse me, folks. The natives are supposed to be compensated. Oh, that's right. That's called the Bankruptcy Act of 1933 under House Resolution 192. And native does not just mean Indian. Native means you've been here over 100 years or since 1866. That's the Supreme Court. Look at the 14th Amendment. Could have never been passed or ratified. That's why I want to get into this structure dealing with you have a right to travel. See, that's the point. You have a right to travel without restrictions so long as you're a lawful bloodline native. If you are an immigrant, this is where people got to realize what an immigrant is. An immigrant is a privileged person or individual on the 48 state soil. That's the one point you got to realize what soil and land means. Soil means under your feet. Land means air, water, mass. Look it up in your dictionary. Look it up on the state charters, exactly what it says. So when it comes to your right to travel, and that includes our waterways, and I'm going to get into some of the stuff, it's like, like with this Aaron guy that keeps coming over and threatening my life. And this new code enforcer threatening my life. You got to remember that these people don't have privileges or rights, because they are public servants, and they gave up their constitutional and rights to serve you, the people. Me, the people, lawful bloodline natives. They gave up their rights. They have no rights. And so when these people get to this point where they're going off and saying, we have this right and we have that right, no, under 11th Amendment, you have no rights. You are a public servant, and if you violate it, you go to jail. But getting that is enforced is very difficult today, especially with these idiots that we have in office. Because these idiots in office are fully wrongfully educated, and nor do they give a shit about your children, nor do they give a shit about you. And as soon as you accept that reality that these men and women don't give a shit about their own kids because they sold it for a job, and as soon as you accept that reality that they sold it for a job, then you might be able to be a little better off. But see, that's where it comes down to you have to be better off. You have to prove these things, just like I have to prove them. See, we have to prove this stuff. That is our responsibility. See, your government don't work for you unless you make it work for you, and that's the problem. We don't have men and women. Very few men and women we have left in this country. Everybody else is so mind controlled because they think religion dictates to them. Well, I really would like to say, if you think religion dictates to you, please get the hell out of our country. because we're not a religious country. We are only by Mother Earth, the Creator. Okay? We're talking Indian laws. You're British and Spaniard laws. Take them back to your country. We don't want you. And you don't have a right coming over here and putting a deal. It's like people say, oh, well, I have a right to come over to your country because I need clemency or, amnesty. No, you don't. That's a problem. People, we don't have to accept you. Federal law even says it, and I post that up all the time. Even the court cases going back to the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment could have never been passed, nor could have been ratified because we didn't have a congressional Congress that was lawful in after 1812. When the British government walked out, called the South, it walked out in 1832. 1836, when the Civil War started. That was done by the British government again, folks. That's the South, the British government. And so that's why when you sit there and these people tell you you don't have a right to travel and you don't have a right to use your oceans and waterways, that's what we're going to be running up here on the Facebook, on the YouTube channel, I mean. So you can actually see you actually do have water rights. And I will be posting that again at the end of the show tonight on youtube.org and trackers with quite a few other information structures. All this stuff is lawful and legal. We do not do religion here. Fantasy is not part of our structure. They wrote it, we quote it. We go by the Constitution and the treaties. The native treaties are the law of the land. And I'll even post up with some natives that even said this over the years. You know, that is the one thing that you've got to realize when you talk to your public servants. Videotape them, audio tape them. It's like this guy's telling me, oh, I got the radio going on. I'm videotaping you as a trespass on my land again. Threatening my life with his gun again. See, and that's the point. You know, it really disturbs me, you know, that these people are allowed to do this and harass you and threaten you. So I'll be filing on him. I've already got that going out with the city council in Toledo, Oregon, where I've already sent it to the police chief and him. And the police chief already know. He's threatened me in the past. He wrote my fiancé tickets with the former police chief that just resigned after I served them the deal to prove their financial structure. So after I filed for them to prove their financial structure, that's when I started getting threatened again because I want their paychecks. I want to know how much they're making. I want their bonus structure. I wanted to know how much the police department is charging the school district and other things because they put up a flash meter down here on the intersection of our street corner with the police department. So the police department of the city is charging people for advertising fees. That's a federal crime. But you got to remember, these people say, we're above the law. We are the law. We don't have to go by laws because you have no rights to have laws. Only we do. And you have to do that or we kill you. That's exactly what a lot of these people directly do say to people. And that's what amazes me, how ignorant the general public is. And if you're that scared, that's the problem. And look what you're doing to your kids. You raise them up so that way they have no audacity or any pride. Or, as one relative says, pride. Oh, you know, what's your bullshit of your pride? Because when you get guns shoved in your head and your family or people around you tell you, oh, just bow your head and do what it is and go pray to some God. No, we should have the right to defend ourselves from home invasion and terrorists at all costs. And that's what needs to be filed, which I'm going to be filing too, because, I mean, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be going through this crap. This guy coming up and always constantly threatening my life. You know, this has been going on for the last couple of years. And I'm not the only one he's done this to. He's pulled his gun on many people in traffic stops and downtown and shoved a gun to their head for no reason. Because he's on his high. This is why he was fired in Florence. His father was fired too, but I heard too, for threatening people and doing this. So when it comes to your water rights, you have a right to travel. That includes water. And we have the law that will get posted up again tonight. But there are laws when it comes to your water. that say you do. But these people don't believe in the law. They believe in a statute, code, and administrative rule that you have to bow to them. They're your God. There ain't no gods. And so when these people sit there and dictate to you about destroying your family and how they do it, and trust me, these people do it. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about your children. They lie. And even the Supreme Court and every court in the land has said cops and public employees lie to rape, rob, and pillage, essentially what it means, or what they call supposedly getting at the truth, so that way they can trap you. Lying, cheating, and stealing is what the employees are doing. There is no honor. Very few of them do actually have honor. There's very few elected and public employees that I do have respect for. And I mean extremely few. And that is the one thing you've got to realize. These men and women go after your personal assets. You know, it's like on Facebook, you know, I mean, I've been putting this stuff out, and somebody goes, well, if we didn't have the court, we wouldn't have incomes. We wouldn't have jobs. You're damn right. There wouldn't be these jobs. Because you got to remember when these administrative rules came into effect 13 years ago. Government jobs went up 400% in less than 10 years. Per year. And so everybody's going, well, if we eliminate this, we won't have a job. Well, then that means you send the illegals back to their country. Quit defending terrorists. If people say, well, they're not terrorists, they're trying to get away from their country because of whatever's going on in their country. Well, it's not our problem. How about they stand up like our forefathers did? See, that's the problem here. And now today, the kids are so weak and beaten down, they don't even know what a right is. They believe that if you don't pay the privilege to live, you don't have a right to live. It's been dictated and taught in school and by the Democratic Party. See, democracy means rape, rob, and pillage. And if you're like, you know, what some of these famous people who have raped children, oh, you can get away with it. Buy your way to heaven. I always hear this crap from people. I can just buy my way to heaven. I make amends by my money, my paycheck. See, that is the one point that people have got to realize in this bullshit. And that's the one thing that you got to start standing up and realizing this bullshit. Because if we don't stand up to this country, you ain't going to have no rights. And they're going to sit there like they're doing in Boston and shooting you on the street because you have an arm. I know you people don't watch the TV and pay attention to the real structure of the real world. But in some cities in the country today, police department are murdering people on the street if they have guns. They're raiding their homes and shooting them on site in their home because they might have a firearm. This is a reality, folks. We're living this shit today. Just because the mainstream media doesn't want to tell you the truth. Rape, robbing, lying, and pillaging. Without that, how would the mainstream media have a job? So you got to comprehend how these mainstream media's employment is. And if you do, then why are you allowing it? Why are you destroying your family? Why are you being corrupted? See, that is a major point here. Why are you accepting it? Why are the children being raped, robbed, and murdered today? Because why are you accepting that? It's the same thing that would happen to the natives when they were murdered and killed. Nobody gave a damn. But everybody wants to talk about the colored folks. Oh, we need to pay them because they were slaves. And then people go argue with me and go, well, yeah, the Indians created slavery too. You know, I get tired of these stupid, moronic arguments instead of sitting there and going, oh, we have a problem. How do we solve it? We have rights. We got to correct the problem with the rights and to stand up instead of creating excuses so that way you can continue to rape, rob, and convince other people to give up their assets to you. And that's what's going on right now, folks. I mean, it's like, I always love it when people start threatening you if you don't sign your rights over to them. You know, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And people get threatened that all the time. I've been threatened that if I don't sign my rights over to somebody, this is what's going to happen to me. I'm still on my soil. And that's the point, you know. And yes, I'm still being attacked. I've been attacked for over 20 years since I exposed the fraud when I first ran for office. And when I ran for mayor in Toledo for 2 terms, when I ran for mayor, well, I did 3, but the last 2, I wrote in the paper too, for that way you had to autograph it and get the vote notarized under the real election laws. That people think that they fantasize that they're doing today, and you go vote, you ain't voting. The government puts in a computer chip and decide who wins. Come on, look at Oregon State has proven that. Even when I ran for mayor twice in 2004 and 2014, they even wrote how I won by dead voters, or lost by dead voters, I mean. Sharon won by dead voters. See, this is the point that gets to me. I mean, even Ron Cross, you know, the mayor of the city, he followed and trust. And the reason why we do, because there's very few men and women and men in this country. All of them are pussy whipped. They're pussies. They're little baby boys. I mean, I watch and talk to a lot of baby boys today. They don't even know the Constitution. They have no idea what pride is. You know, that's the point. And then the point is, everybody goes, oh, go bow your head and pray. Pray to who? What? Why? When you pray, what gets done? Nothing. See, that's the point that always gets to me. People throw out the baby with the bathwater all the time and then say, oh, well, no, it's not empty. It still has water in it. I mean, it is disturbing. So we have the rights to travel, and that's the one thing that, you know, I haven't looked on it, but it should be flashing hopefully coming up, because we've got some of that where we can pass and get the law up. Now, when I get done, I'll get the laws put on the website so you can watch it. Come on, computer. I hate it when my computer freezes up. But this is the one thing that when it comes down to these circumstances, we have to make it happen. You have to make it happen. And especially if you got children, you know, this is your liability. It's like Rod Cross mentioned to me recently and said, very simple. It's simple that he said to me just recently on the phone after the tweet comes on my property with his gun again, and I call him up at home. He's like, well, I don't have nothing to do with the police department. I said, what, the private contractors, right? Well, yeah, and it's like, so, but you're the manager of the private contractors. Oh, no, we don't have a deal. So if there's no authority and no authority in place by the mayor and city council, because 30 years ago, the mayor ran the city council and the police department and the fire department, but in a democracy, nothing's run. There's no people in charge but the devil himself. Called the Democratic Party. Oh, we just rape, rob, and pillage. And so that's the one thing. It's like Epstein, you know? He gets killed in jail. Now they're saying that, his bones were broken in 13 places or something. He basically was beat to death, is what they're saying. But there's 2 choices in that. Was he really beat to death, or was he shoved out underneath the tunnel? See, people don't know this stuff because there's no videotape. The guy was under 24-hour surveillance. But there's no videotapes, no evidence, nobody there. Cops didn't see anything. So, I mean, I know people are gullible. And it starts proving more and more how gullible people are. People are extremely gullible. You know, I mean, I always love talking to people. Well, I don't like to see the truth. I want to live in fantasy. But then when something happens in their life, they're the first ones that want to be there for you to run and help them and do their stuff. And I'm not the only one. Everybody hears it. But see, that's what burns me up, you know, when these people have no respect for themselves. They have no clarification for their family. I mean, there's people out there who even let their children be raped because they get a buck from it. And a buck is more important than their children. See, that's what amazes me by people like this. You know, it really does amaze me when people do this. And it's real disturbing when people do this. So when you read this stuff and you're not paying attention to what's going on and how the children are being raped and robbed in this community, and most of the children raping happens in public employees' hands, by their hands. And I mean, it's good to start seeing some of these people go to prison for more than 10 years. You know, I believe if you rape a woman or a child, I think the woman or child should be given a dull butter knife and have way with you, strap you down, and too bad. You know, that's justice. But in the democracy, we got to put you in jail so we can feed you, so we can create a job 24 hours a day, 3 shifts, so we can create a phone bill that you have to pay 10 times the amount than a regular phone because we're making a profit on it. So everything's based on a profit in these corporations, not your life, not your bloodline, not your family. And when you talk to public employees, they don't care about you. When are you people going to wake up? The only one that cares about it and has any reference to anything about caring is the fire department. Police department don't give a fuck about nobody. Talk to a cop. He'll tell you he'll even let you die. I mean, I've seen that. I've seen how cops come up with pulling guns to people's heads. I've lived it. And I've been the guy in bars that took out the criminals. Literally. And everybody goes, well, I should have been in the paper. Several of them I didn't. No, I don't want to be in the newspaper. Because, I mean, it doesn't matter what I did or why I did it or how I helped somebody stop a criminal activity. It's nobody else's business but the people involved. Newspapers end up making mockery out of people because selling papers and selling circumstances of their news program is more important than people's lives. I know, I've proven more documents in newspapers how they raped, robbed, and murdered children. I mean, we could even go back to the William Gaskill, Pamela Gaskill case 20 years ago, where DHS raped the 5-year-old child. Raped her. And nobody gave a fuck, except for the parents with $500 million, but they were afraid to collect it because they were afraid that they were going to be hit, and one of them was taken out shortly after it. You see, people have no respect. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. When we got these laws, now it's time to stand together. And if we don't stand together, may whatever your fantasy come true. Because if you believe in some type of God or religion, may you live in hell. Because you're not protecting your family. You're not protecting the people around you because you don't give a fuck about them. And you prove it every single day what you do. That's the one point. If you care about your children, you protect your children. If you don't care about them, you don't protect them. We know how that works. And so that's the one thing. I find it very amazing, you know. I mean, my property is posted. Now I've got to figure out, I got to come up with resources. I got to put a wall up around my property. Originally, I was going to do that when I had the money until my house was robbed by the cops again. Documents destroyed. So, I mean, this is the point. Yeah, even family. But, you know, around, share it. Because it's your line. That's what we signed for. That's what the cops are supposed to go by. And it's like, I'm watching people slowly getting it. But we need to get a little more rapid, and that's the other point. We need to file the criminal charges on them. You know, don't take them to your local court because the district attorney is a con man or woman. A district attorney cannot file criminal complaints. And if they do, it's a federal crime. You have to write the criminal complaint up and file it. And you have to write it as a criminal charges and complaint. Because they go, you have to put a complaint form in. So I write the charges and I put the complaint in. So I'm still charging them criminal charges. That's what I got going on here. Where I filed on the city of Toledo. I want to see their bank statements. I want to see what the hell we're paying in taxes. I want to know exactly where the money goes to. Because I know the income tax goes into in the IRS, called Washington, D.C., out of Puerto Rico. I mean, it's so simple to figure these things out. All this information is online, including New York Stock Exchange. That's municipality bonds. That's when you get a traffic ticket. They sell those bonds because they know you're going to pay off a fine, and so those bonds are accruing interest. And those things are no interest bonds. So you don't have to report that to the IRS for taxes. This is how they steal, folks. You want municipality bonds are the biggest loophole. Everybody talks about tax loopholes. Excuse me, folks, wake up to real reality instead of your fantasy. Taxes are voluntary, number one, unless you are elected a public servant, registered church member, and especially an immigrant. Legal immigrant. Illegals have no rights to food, water, or shelter. Democrats even put out to kill their own children. So we've seen that. That's been in history. So, and I know the media turns things for their personal gain to sell papers. We know that for a fact. So, I mean, and when it comes down to this stuff, knowing your water rights, all right, you have the right to travel. You have the right to water rights. So that's inland water rights, and we have that up, and I'll get further into that one. But that means your water, your coastline, that means your inland lakes, all your river streams, all your waterways. All your waterways, even man-made waterways that go into a lake. Because if it's man-made, that's still general public because he wrote it off with his taxes. So you got to realize what the tax structure and how these things work compared to what they misinform you on. Because if he's writing it off for personal, or she writing it off for personal financial gain, that's open to public. That's public. That's not private. So, and it's like, I've got my property signed. I got filings with the county on my property taxes and everything, and they keep coming after me because I'm proving the law. It's voluntary. But they don't want you to know it's voluntary, because if you know it's voluntary, oh my God, they couldn't charge $100,000 a year for their jobs. And then they couldn't put the assets on your birth certificate bond called your jewelry, your homes, assets, cars. People say, oh, that doesn't work. I said, read it, man. It's real history. Do your history. I mean, I love it when the Democrats put out this crap on Facebook lying to the general public. And then you start proving it to the general public, and, then all of a sudden I've done that more than once, and then I get booted off again, censored on Facebook for telling the truth. I mean, I got censored for putting up the actual law that Muslims are not allowed in the United States, period. This is the actual congressional record law. Why and how? This goes all the way back to Andrew Jackson, and not only that, it was even applied with FDR, the Birth Certificate Act. Corporation Act. See, and this is the one thing that we have going is proper education now with the internet. So when you have this stuff, please put it on a flashlight or drive, download it. Because since Obama's been in terroristic office, I've watched the history change online, literally. I mean, even in the 1846 treaty, now they're trying to say that the British government owns us, but in the 1846 original Oregon Territory Treaty, they can't tax you. Technically, your police cannot even have contact with you. This goes back to 1846, folks. Are people that stupid? And I get people that go, oh, Ed, you shouldn't say that or call people stupid. I'm calling people stupid. I'm tired of this political crackness. Crack. That's what makes you wonder how many of these people are on in office. Because political structure, oh, your sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Where are the real men and women? God, we grew up drinking out of a garden hose. Now, if you don't drink out of a garden hose, you're taboo. That shouldn't happen. But if you drink like you're drinking water, most of your water, and by the way, type in, what was that strychnine in the water system? Bottled water companies are serving strychnine in their water. You type it up and go find out who's doing it. So if you're into bottled water, they're serving you strychnine and bottled water. And this just came out with the FBI and federal reports that just came out in the media within the last 24 hours. See, they are killing you for a reason, folks, because that way, if the population goes down, the wealthy, the rich, they have full rates. They own the land underneath the ground. They've got things that they can sit there for a year underground and survive. I mean, there's even a place in Arizona that has 5 acres underground that actually is set up just like out. You know, I mean, there's these things that are really out there. They're really factual. And so when we're not educating ourselves and learning that we have water rights, the right to hunt and fish without permits and permission from the corporation, standing up with each other, proving this. When people are going to court dates, you know, try to get as many people you can in the court date to audio tape. They're going to say you can't audio tape. We've got the laws up that says you can. See, lying, cheating, and stealing is what democracy is all about. Religion is all about. Without that, they don't have a job. Don't show me a religious man who's honorable, who don't try to take somebody else's property or land, or who doesn't overstep their bounds. Oh, God will forgive me. That's the way they treat. That's the way they teach their children. You know, you steal, God will forgive you. Not to be honorable. You know, assaulting people. Oh, God will forgive you. No, I think taking the baseball bat is a good way to start forgiveness from the victim to use it. The injured man or woman should be able to inflict the pain back that you gave to them, so that way you get to know what it's like. I mean, and that's the one point that we need to get back to, what they call, with a fantasy word called justices. But then again, curiosity, look up the word justice. You might be surprised what you actually see. See, we're in a turmoil in this country right now with total failure of education, because everybody's educating people for their own personal corporation endeavors. You know, I mean, look at Stanford. They're programming people for their financial structure. And Harvard doing the same thing. Coolidge College doing the same thing. Got to bring those people back so we keep our jobs going. And everybody's out there, instead of learning how to hunt and fish, grow food, take care of their neighbors, take care of their surroundings, everybody's about me, 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 me. Selfish me, me, me. Everybody's just about me. It's all selfishness. And so the kids, you wonder why the kids today have no respect, no manners, and don't give a shit. You know, people in my age bracket, and they're, let's say 35 to 60 years old, they're the ones who raised them that way because their parents didn't give a shit about them. It's stepping out of the movie and watching a production. It's like watching a movie called Interstate 60, where we'll explain your court systems. And I recommend that. And I got to get the other video, too, dealing with the Lakota Nation, how the immigrants came over and basically raped, robbed, and pillaged. They were never invited. They came over and threw themselves in this country and said, oh, we have a right to be here. And so seeing that we don't like what you are, we're just going to murder you, and we're going to make sure that you're civilized in our opinion. See, that's the one thing. When animal ruled the earth, there was freedom until George Bush said, oh, we need to have laws instead of animal laws. That way they put in religion that destroyed you. I mean, right now Trump is being pushed to put in religion. The church and state is not supposed to be in any fashion of the Public Employees Union or government or anything in the Constitution. That's the devil's work. That's even been stated by several other presidents in history. Go read what John F. Kennedy wrote about it. You know, he was a Roman Catholic. He brought up a lot of things, but he made sure that it has to be separated. His religion was his belief, not the people's belief of the freedom, and that goes back to the native contracts with the British government and the Constitution and the treaties, because the treaties are the law of the soil. The Constitution is an aid to it. You know, you got to read this stuff. So by reading the stuff and looking at the real facts, cross-referencing, look at different structures or read different books, you know, and if you're not a good reader and you have to watch a video, watch 5 or 6 of the videos, and with a pen and paper, make your best educational decision. So that's the one point, you know. I mean, it's not a choice. It's a decision. Choice has no rights and responsibility or respect. Decision means I'm responsible and I know what I'm doing, male or female. And so we forgot how to teach ourselves called responsibility. Everybody wants to create an out or an excuse so that way we don't have to be liable. And when a public servant tells you they're not liable, they lie. I even have the 1942 international laws that says all elected and public employees are liable and shall or go to prison for any contempt violating the treaties. And these people are going, that's what I'm getting right for the city here. Seeing that, you know, Rod Claras told me that he doesn't watch the cops. You know, they're private contractors. Well, then, what the hell is a private contractor coming on my land without my written expressed authority? And I've got that written in the paperwork I filed in Washington, D.C. that they're still threatening my life over because I'm not backing off. You got to remember, these people are getting terrified because not only me, but there's so many more people out there like yourselves writing these things, learning from other people, putting together your own instruments. Do not call it a document because you're not docking a ship in their port. You do that, you're giving authority to the commander called the local judge to decide what the hell you want. That's what the captain is on a boat. Is the judge of the boat. He decides what's going on in that courtroom. That's why you don't want to go to an Article I court, legislative court. You have to do your Article III courts. You know, and that's what I've got to do. Is I've got to write this up and I'll file this here this week on this guy. And I'll make it public. I am not bashful. But it's just so frustrating that these men and women think they can come out and rape, rob, and murder you. And you guys just stand there. See, that's what I say. You know, if more people stood up, it's like they got the recall going with Kate Brown. Now, I've been after Kate Brown for years. I started the first actual recall several years back. Mike Cross didn't do the first one, and I know Mike because we worked on some other stuff. And the other guy, you know. That, you know, these guys, you know, these guys don't do anything for the kindness of their heart. It's all about money. So the first original recall on Kate Brown, when I filed that, I wrote it up so that way it wasn't a legal recall. It was a lawful structure that if people did it, they have to prosecute her. They wrote the administrative rules. I just read them and followed their instructions of how to do it. And so we'll be getting up I got to go back and find the structure and filing federal criminal charges. And they do have a form, and it is in red, and it states on the form that you have to autograph in red. And if you don't autograph in red, it's invalid. But remember, the federal government is coming out with new forms that I've never seen before. These are new that have come out just in the last 2 years, which has shocked the heck out of me. And it says, point blank, in red ink. If it ain't done in red ink, it's invalid. And remember, your elected and public employees are blue royalty ink. Black is dead man. Gold is royalty. Silver is a knight. So your red is a living man or woman. Yeah, I mean, you go look it up, type up your color codes on ink and try to prove me wrong. I'd like to see somebody prove me wrong. I know what it says. I have it on the website, too. See, this is the one thing that protecting our rights, our water rights. I mean, cops are supposed to sit there and protect our structure if they took an oath. Otherwise, they have no point of employment. They're a foreign agent that has no authority. We even have the paperwork that a sheriff has no arresting authority. A sheriff's job is not outside of a courtroom. His job is to maintain a courtroom. He's not to be out in the general public on the street. Now, I don't disagree with having some of our public servants on the streets like that, that when they don't honor their oath, we need to put them in prison. They're not above the law. It's like this, Aaron tells me, I am the law. And I know he's bullied and pulled his gun on numerous people in my community, or my territory. Community is a British terminology that says you're bowing your head over to the District of Columbia in your state that owns you, if you go that route. I don't know, state don't own me, doesn't own anybody. But this guy keeps bullying because because people in town know me. They've known me for years. I've been in this spot for 23 years. I'm not just a guy that is not known. Oh, I don't have a problem talking anywhere I go in public, and everybody knows that about me. I'm just waiting to start seeing the men and women stand up and do something. But, most people don't care about the friends and neighbors or the children in this community or your community. See how many people in your community really care about the kids that will do something without getting a tax credit. Okay. It's all based on tax credit. Oh, tax credits. But remember, tax credits are written off under the IRS codes. That's a de facto corporation in Puerto Rico run by the Queen and the Vatican. We get other videos. The Lighthouse Law Club has a lot of good videos, especially their video on how to stop mortgage fraud. But that's for lawful bloodline natives, technically. They got a good video, and I've sat there and watched people watch that video, gone through the video with them, and people go, well, I just can't understand it. I said, can you take a pen and paper and write down each and every word that they say in court? Well, that's too much work for me. Then what the hell are you talking to me for? You want to learn? I ain't writing your case. I want you to learn how to write your case. I want you to comprehend what the facts are. Because if you don't know it when you go into one of these kangaroo court systems, you're screwed. And technically, you want to file your paperwork before you go to court. You want them to cancel your case. And everybody goes, I need my day in court. Only a fool goes to court because you're going to lose. They run the court system. Once your case is dismissed, you win. Then you send back and ask for a certified letter clarifying your win. See, these things are simple. And we do have some elected and public officials who actually honor their oath of servitude. Title V, what is that, 3331. Look it up. Public employees have to honor their oath of servitude or go to jail. Title V, 3331. You can look at 333, what is that, 3336 was another good one to look up and read. Well, these things are there for your protection. And if you're not willing to protect you, who's going to protect you? Oh, I'm going to go to a lawyer. He's going to help me. A lawyer works for the British government. I argue all the time with lawyers, literally. I really do. I argue with attorneys all the time with their bullshit. Well, and it's interesting. I love it when the city says, well, you need to hire an attorney to identify all these charges, and they're like, oh, shit, then they come out to attack me. Well, this thing is going to happen. Like I said, I've been putting out this email with this Aaron picture, threatening my life, and sent it to the mayor, and I'm sending the whole thing out with everybody with all their emails to the world. They have no privacy. Public employees have no privacy, folks. I mean, I watch these videos going, you can't videotape me because I have privacy rights when I'm a clerk at the court. No, you don't. You have no rights as a public servant. Look at Article Title 11 and look at international law. You have no rights. And that's the point that we need to have these attorneys stand up for this structure. Or people truly need to fire these bastards. So, and that's up to you. If you don't stand up, there's no truth. So you got to make the truth happen. And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And I always put in my structure silence. If they want to play silence, you always put the silence in. And if you serve them 2 or 3 times, they never respond. You got to tell it on your bulletin board of your city hall. File it on your public servants. See, that is the point. You have to file on them. So that is the one point that, knowing your rights, how a police public servant can and cannot do. And that includes, like I said, going to your water rights. I don't know, I'm not watching the computer to see if that's running. But when you know your water rights, because if you're inland or stuff like that, they can't infringe your right to travel. They can't infringe your right to feed your family. Only if you're elected a public employee and immigrant. So it would be nice to start seeing more and more natives standing up and working together instead of thinking, I'm a co-chief, I'm macho. No, we're all in the same playing field with the families, folks. Do you feed your family? Do you love your family? That's up to you. So with that, we're going to open up the floor.
All participants are unmuted.
So anybody else would like to speak up or bring something to the table?
Ed.
Yes, floor is open.
Yeah, I had a gentleman come over to discuss some business with me, and he literally, I called my son over so he could come listen for himself.
He what?
I said I called my son over so he could come and listen for himself. I was like you, I was explaining to the gentleman about the Constitution and stuff, and I asked him, I said, do you know any of the amendments? And the gentleman literally just says, yeah, I only know the Fifth Amendment. That's all he knew. He didn't know anything else. He didn't know anything about the first, second, third, sixth, ninth, 10th, none of it. All he knew was just one, the Fifth Amendment.
That's the sad part, and you can just see the way he's teaching his own child with that one.
I felt really bad. I was like, okay, and so I went into it. I even had my son come over so he could see that I wasn't making this stuff up. I mean, that when I tell him that people actually do not know their own Constitution, and they live in the United States, but they keep telling people, hey, I have rights. What rights do you have? Are you sure you have those rights?
Yeah. Who gave you the rights?
Yeah. And so it was a good teaching experience for my sons, because then he, like I said, he got to see actually someone to actually admit, I don't know anything about the amendments. And I told him, I said, see, this is why I tell you. And my son keeps asking me, I don't see how this is going to help me later on in the future. I said, trust me, you will once you grow up. But right now, you don't see anything. So just bear with me and you'll find out.
And that is the truth, because most people don't comprehend what the Constitution is. And the Constitution is founded from the native treaties. See, and that's the one thing people don't get, Remember, these immigrants came over. I mean, Pocahontas was raped all the time. And then you get the Democrats trying to put this nice thing about Pocahontas out when she was raped and shipped over to England and raped over there by the king and queen and everybody else because they paraded her, as a fancy girl. That's in real history, folks. That's not your imagination history. That's real history. So it just amazes me. Go ahead. Anything else you'd like to throw in?
Not at this time. Yield.
Okay. I know you probably got what I put up with there in picture, and like I said, I'm going public with it. I mean, I know the local news media will cover up for them again. That's what they do best. I mean, they have done that for the last 15 years, covered up, even when they try to shoot me, murder me, even presently. But that's newspapers. They select on what they want to run for a rating. And people got to comprehend the newspaper runs for ratings. They don't care about you. At least, hopefully, I'll be wrong someday. But at this point, I haven't seen it. So, anyhow, we got more and more information that's coming up and putting out. You got to keep following New.Oregon Trackers and the Facebook sites, even though I keep getting knocked off of Facebook for posting stuff. I mean, I couldn't believe for posting the actual law on Muslim immigration, the factual law, 8 USC, what is it, 3:1, and all of a sudden Facebook attacks me saying that's racist when it's the actual law. So, but you got to remember, it's not all Mark. You got to remember, his employees are. Well, with that, next week we're going to get into some other rights versus privileges. I'll be posting them up ahead of time on the Facebook channels because people have got to fight on this stuff. And I do comprehend people get very upset with me because the way I feel about religion. But religion is not American. It came from a foreign country. I mean, and that's the point. People argue with me all the time. As a foreign country, so what? So a foreign country, I can't come into your home, sit in your chair, take your remote, tell you to go here and control your life from your chair. You wouldn't tolerate it. So, and that's the structure we have with our country. And folks, we do not have all this land and food and resources. If you haven't been out in the real world, even took a plane ride across state line and see there's trees are all gone. There's no food, no wildlife, no structure. I mean, 60% of the United States has no foundation enforced anymore. So everything west from the Rockies, some has some force, not as much as we used to even 25 years ago. But they're going after and destroying this structure. You got to remember, their jobs are more important than your life. So with that, may the Creator and Mother Earth look after you. And that's the one thing is we got to start learning how to educate people better on their treaties and rights compared to their fantasy of living under city administrative rules. So with that, may the Great Spirit and Mother Earth look after you.
Thank you for listening to Disclaimers by Ed Johnston. It is August 17th, 2019. It is a Saturday. And sorry about the quality. We're trying to fix it, but with the low internet that we have capable to us right now, it's very difficult to make a stream that has decent graphics